We'll do a review in Lakutis Sichas and Chelek Yud Ches, the third Sicha for the Parshas Matos. This is a Rashi Sicha. The Rebbe explains the last pasuk in the Parshas Matos, in which the Torah uses the word law without a dogish, without a mapig hey. Law, a soft law. The pasuk talks over there about how the Bnei Mocher ben Menashe, how they conquered the cities on the other side of the Eber Hayarden, which Moshe Rabbeinu has given them. So the last pasuk says that Noivach, who was the son of Mocher ben Menashe, he went and he exactly who this Noivach was, whether he was directly a son of Menashe or he was also a son of Yoir, and the whole leniency there, the Ramban discussed it, there's other Meforshim discuss that, but the pasuk says that Noivach went and he conquered Knos, and then it says Vayikra Lo, he called the city of Knos, he called it Noivach Bishmoi, called him his name for prolonged, for in one Pirush he didn't have any children, so to prolong the name. But the bottom line here, this is not negay to the Sikha. Here we're talking about specifically the Rashi is Vayikra Lo, he called her Noivach Bishmoi. When we say law on something, usually it has a dagush. Loha means to her. He called to her. That's the knos. Vayikra Lo, without calling her, let's say a person without naming her, would be law. Without him, would be a rafa. But her, oisoh, law means oisoh, which it has a dagush. But in this case, Vayikra Lo Noivach Bishmoi, it doesn't have a dagish. It doesn't have the dot in the hay. Stellt sich Rashi the Werter. So Rashi places on the word Vayikra Lo Noivach on his Mefarish, and Rashi explains law. It's law, not loho, not to her. Eine mapik hay. There is no mapik hay over here. The strong hay. So why is that? Normally we would have, he called her, should be laha. To her, it should be with a mapik hay. So Rashi says, so I saw in the foundation, the sefer that was written by the Moshe Adarshan, that Lefi Shalei Niskayim Lo Shem Zel. This name has not been sustained. Noivach has not been sustained, as the Rebbe brings down in Divrei Hayomim. Over there, it doesn't mention Noivach over there. It talks about Yoir ben Menashe, but there is no mention in Divrei Hayomim about Noivach. So it means that the name has not actually been sustained, that he named it Noivach, but the Knos did not remain with the name Noivach. And Lefiko Churofa, and that's why the hey in the law is a soft one. It's not without the mapig hey. Shemashma medroshe, so we expounded to mean k'moiloi, that it did not. Vayikra loy noivach. He did not call it noivach. In other words, it did not last, this name. Okay, so that's Rashi brings down the pshat over here. Mehani ma yidrish b'shtei, and the Rebbe will explain all this later in the Sikha exactly the pshat over here. But Rashi says, "Mehani ma yidrish b'shtei teves hadoimes lo." There's other two words that also have a law, which should be a mapike, and they don't have a mapike. So Rashi says, "I'm surprised. What would Rabbi Moshe Darshan expound?" Or I wonder, what would he expound in the other two words that are similar to here, don't have a mapik hey? So one pasuk is in Rus. So over there is when Rus was discussing with Boaz, and Rus says to him, I'm not worthy to even be one of your maidservants. When Boaz was bringing her in, and she said, no, I'm not worthy. So, but over there it says, Vayomer lo Boaz, and Boaz says to her, come in, and he invited her to take. So it says also lo. So loha means to her. It should say loha with a mapik hey. Doesn't say a mapik hey there. So Vayomer lo Boaz with a mapik hey. So what's the pshat over there? That's what Rashi asks. He wonders, what would Ramesha Darshan say over there? Then the other thing is, livnois lo bayis. This is a psukim that talk in Zechariah. It's a moshul over there. The psukim are talking about shtei noshim, which refers to flattery and arrogance. Those are called the shtei noshim, with the Yetzer Hara. And basically, he saw the vision. They went to build for her, for the flattery and for the Yetzer Hara. It's also lo bayis, to build her home in Bavel. That Bavel got the house of that flattery of the Chanuf. See soon more in the Sikha the details about the psukim that these psukim come from. Okay, but right now we just see that Rashi has a problem translating what is the laws over there going to be translated. So if Rashi, the Rebbe argues, doesn't think that this is a good pshat, that law without a mapik hey isn't a good pshat because it doesn't fit in the other two places. So why does it bring it down? It brings it down, then it says it's not a good pshat. He should say he doesn't know the pshat if he doesn't think it's a good pshat. That's my first thing. Aleph. If Rashi holds as the pirush for a Moshe Darshan, that the Moshe Darshan's interpretation is nit oisgehalten loy pshuta shel mikra. It does not really fit in the literal explanation of the pasuk. Because I have a problem. Because I'm surprised. What is he going to expound? But the andere tzveverte law on a mapikei. But the other two words law don't have a mapikei. Why did he bring down this expansion? Why does Rashi even bring it down if it doesn't make sense? Rebbe will explain later on. It's not like it doesn't make sense at all. Here it makes sense. Rashi says it's problematic. It's timehani, but because Rashi does, otherwise, if it would fit everywhere, then Rashi would feel comfortable. Rashi's just bringing down the drash, not because he doesn't think. Because over here, as the Rebbe will explain, over here, the drush of Ramesha Darshan makes very much logical that this is the pshat over here, pshuta shel mikra, and therefore Rashi brings it down, but he says to me, as Rebbe will explain. So Rashi should have said here, if we should assume that Rashi doesn't like the pshat of the Moshe Darshan because he's surprised that he has no way to explain it elsewhere, so Rashi should have said, like he says in many places, in Pirush Rashi LaTorah, as he says about a word, I don't know. And the pshat from the word, he doesn't know the meaning of that word. Although in the expansion of our sages' blessed memory, there are explanations and interpretations. Rashi doesn't have to say, oh, there is an interpretation when he doesn't agree or it doesn't make sense, doesn't fit in Pshuta Shel Mikra. Since those interpretations of our sages' blessed memory do not fit according to the literal meaning, Rashi doesn't bring them in his commentary. Rashi's commentary is the simple meaning of the pasuk, so therefore Rashi doesn't bring them. So why over here Rashi brings, if Rashi means here to say that he doesn't like the Moshe Darshan because it doesn't fit elsewhere, so why does he bring it in the first place? So that means that Rashi does like it, as the Rebbe will explain. But Rashi brings out that there's still a problem with it. Then the order, the proofs, Rashi, the problems, first Rashi brings from Ksuvim, from the Pasuk in Rus, And then he brings from Nevi'im, from the Pasuk in Zechariah. Ksuvim comes after Nevi'im, so you should bring first the Raya from Zechariah and then the Raya from Rus. Base, von was bringt Rashi früher von Pasuk Vayemer lo boyas. From the word lo boyas in Rus, which is Ksuvim, and then noch from Pasuk living lo bayis in Zechariah, which is Nevi'im, which is the prophets. In Seder HaTanach, when we go in the order of the Torah Nevi'im Ksuvim, kum doch Nevi'im far Ksuvim. Nevi'im comes for Ksuvim, so Rashi should have first seemingly brought the proof from the pasuk in Zechariah, there it does make law, and then to the pasuk of Rus, where there is Vayemer law boyas. So that's good. And then we have a problem that we do find some drushes on it, which seem to be pretty reasonable drushes. So why does Rashi not reject it? As the Ramban addresses this. Gimel. The third issue is the kasha for Ramban. Question of Ramban. In Medrash Rus and Faran drushes, in the Medrash Rus there are expounds Sai Oif Vayemer Lo Boyas. Why does it say Lo Boyas in the Medrash, in Medrash Rabbah and Rus? Usai of Livnas Lo Bayis. And also in the Medrash there is a drasha to get also on Livnas Lo Bayis. Just like Rav Moshe Darshan, Rashi says he doesn't know the interpretation, but in the Medrash we also have drashas. And the drasha over there in the Medrash comes together with the drasha that Rashi brings down in our Parsuk Vayikra Lo Neivach. Zusammen mit der Drasha von unser Parsuk Vayikra Lo Neivach, together with our drasha, it brings, in the Medrash Rabbah, it brings all the three psukim. And over there I say Shaloi Omad Lo, the Medrash says Shaloi Omad Lo Isa Hashem. Just as Rashi brings from Moshe Darshan that the name did not last. So over there in Medrash Rus, he brings down expounding drashas on Vayomer Lo Boyas and then Livnis Lo Bayis. How to interpret that? Was verentet euch by Zay, it also answers by them. Then Chisor mapping. Why is it lacking that a mapping hay that should be there in the hay? And was Rashi to Mahanim Ma'idrish. So why is Rashi saying, I'm surprised? What is he going to expound? Well, maybe we're going to say Rashi didn't know this Medrash. Also, it's maybe because Rashi brings it down for a Moshe Darshan. Maybe Rashi didn't see the Medrash, so Rashi didn't know of the other Rashi. But the Rebbe says that's a Deichik zu sagen. So a Deichik zu sagen, as Rashi had the Medrash Rus nicht gesehen, that he didn't see the Medrash Rus. Wie der Rambam wundert sich. The Rambam is surprised. The Rav, Rashi, he's a full treasure, full for Torah, for laws, and for Agodis, for expounding for drashas. And he forgot, this slipped away from him. How could it be? So we see that it's just something difficult to say that Rashi did not know of the drashas there. So why does Rashi say to me, I'm surprised? It's not only in Medrash, this last drasha of Livnos Lo Bayis, we actually have a drasha in the Gemara, not just in the Medrash, separately. Noch starker fragt the Ramban asks even stronger, euch in Gemara, im Sechtes Sanhedrin. The Gemara, in Tractate Sanhedrin, is da a drasha of them, was der Wort Lo, von Livnos Lo Bayis, eine Mapikei. Over there, we find an expansion, an interpretation. Why the word law? By even Lo Bayis, he built for her a house. For Livnos Lo Bayis is eine Mapikei. That it doesn't have the hater. So like this, the Gemara Zog, the Gemara talks over there about the pasuk in Zechariah. It talks about the level of the Ephah, which is the Yetzirah, and it's being led by the two bad characteristics of Chanufah, flattery and gas ruach and arrogance. And the Gemara says, the Pasuk says that it came, livnos labayis, to build a home where to take hold in Babel. So the Gemara is at the Pasuk red ve'chanufa ve'gasus ruach sheyordu leBabel. It talks about the flattery and the arrogance of spirit that have descended to Babel. So why is there missing a hay? The Gemara explains. For them, was es felt der dogesh in hay, the fact that there's missing the emphasis in the hay, let it know that there's something missing. As the reader from gasus haruach, that the descent of the gasus haruach in Babel is not given in akviz de kneif. That the taka didn't last over there. The Gemara says over there that lebabel nachis, that while gasus haruach, arrogance of spirit, descended to Babel, but the Gemara has the kasha over there. We find that Elam is the place of gasus haruach, and the Gemara says it descended taka to Babel, and then it went to Elam. So it means that in Babel it wasn't permanent. So nicht given. So in Babel it did given akviz the guy from the Babel nachas. Und noch is tarbu b'lahosav le'elam, and then it was dragged away into Elam. So that's why Elam became the capital of arrogance, of gasus haruach, and Babel remained only the capital for chanufa, for flattery. But we see that we're explaining the word law to mean it didn't last there in a permanence. It was only in a temporary way. So it's also Rafa. So why doesn't Rashi say that this is a explanation of the Gemara? Maybe the Medrash maybe didn't see it. Medrash Rus, Shtamite. But over here, this is a Feirish Gemara. Only one pasuk. It doesn't explain the pasuk in Rus, but it does explain the pasuk in Zechariah. Now, the Rebbe says Rashi has a different shot. Rashi learns it's not the law, it's not the mapik hay that we learn over there. Rashi v'rush ala shas learned. Rashi learns different. Rashi learns that the way we know that there was just one Chanufa was left in Babel and Gasruch went away is from the beginning of the pasuk. When it talks there, it talks to them that there were two Lohen in a plural. So there was two Gasruch and Chanufa, and then it says Livnei's law for it, only one of them. So that one of them has to be the just the level of Chanufa. So it's not from the law because it says a Rafa. As Rashi be Pirush ala Shas learned. So Rashi learns a little bit different than I. It's not the law mapik hey. So Rashi can't bring this law because that's not Rashi. Rashi doesn't learn that interpretation, like we just said. Rashi learned as the Raya from Livnus Labayis. What does the Gemara bring a Raya from Livnus Labayis? Not because it's not a mapik hey, and that tells us that it was dragged away to Elam. It's no longer. Gas Ruach is no longer in there because there's a soft law here. It's not from them was law. It's not because the law doesn't have a emphasize the dogush in the hay, not from them was a state law loshen yochid, but because it says in the singular. As Rashi explains, what does that mean? Babibal das freer state in Pasuk. Pasuk before says vinishtayim noshim. The two women representing the Chanufa and Gasuruach. V'laheino goimer, and to them Loshan Rabim, which we're talking about two flattery and arrogance. Those are hinting to the two items that went down to Babel. Chanufa v'Gasuruach. Und der noch steht, and then the pasuk writes only livnei law in a singular. Bais says Rashi, Loshen Yochid in a singular is the fun gedrungen as shabo livnei bais likvoya bibavel, that when they came to build the house to set it up in Babel, is nor geblibun chanufa lechuda. Only chanufa was left because it says a singular from the two. Chanufa and gas ruach was only chanufa was left, and gas ruach went to Elam. Gas ruach is to dir to Elam. So Rashi doesn't darshan law the Rafa over there. So that's why Rashi. So we can't ask Akasha lecheder from the Gemara. That why doesn't Rashi bring the drasha of the Gemara? Why is Rashi said to Mihani? But the answer is no. It still wouldn't be appropriate for Rashi to say to Mihani. From deswegen is it masim to fragen beloshen tmiya. It's still not fitting to ask in a surprising way. Ut Mihani ma yidresh chulu. Surprise what he's going to expound. For although Rashi has some reason that he doesn't want to learn the Gemara from the law, can the Chaber sein as a Moshe Darshan? Hat you also learned the Pshat in the Gemara? Could be that Moshe Darshan did learn the Pshat in the Gemara that is because of the law. Why does Rashi say to Mehani, I'm surprised, what is he going to darshan? Maybe he's going to learn other than Rashi learns in the Gemara, that it's from the plural and the singular. Maybe it is because the law is soft, and it's a soft, meaning that it's not the full, lasting arrogance, because arrogance never stayed there. As we'll see, the Rebbe explains later, it's not possible to explain like that a soft on only one of them, which didn't stay there when it's only a singular, as we'll see as the Rebbe will explain. Base. A beer in them, explanation of this, Geret, feel more. We said already, man, we spoke already many times. That also those expounding interpretation of our sages of blessed memory that Rashi quotes, brings down in his commentary on the Torah. They are close to the simple meaning of the verse. What we'll show in Rashi, in using the language that Rashi says, is Agoda Yasheves Dibra Mikro Dover Dibra Lefanav. We're talking about an expounding that settles the words of the pasuk, each word, each thing on its right way. Those expounding which are totally not according to the simple meaning. Rashi doesn't even bring him down. Kedal Sifalov, as said before, in Sifalov, Rashi wouldn't bring down something which doesn't fit in the Pshuta Shemik. For them, it's verstandig. So from this we understood. In our case, as we bald Rashi bring them Drash for Rabbi Darshan. Since Rashi brings the expounding of Rabbi Darshan over Yikra Lo Noivach, that he called it Noivach, that the law here means a soft, like no, hotas an orti pshuta shel mikra. So it means that this fits in the simple meaning of the pasuk. When Rashi says, I'm surprised, what will he expound in the two words which we find in Zachariah and in Rus? No. Rashi doesn't mean that there is no possible explanation on those words, and therefore that would make it difficult. But as Maken by Zay, like Rashi says that by them, Nidarshan them law on a mapike, you can't interpret over there the law without the mapike and the same style in themselves the Darshan says here. Over here, we're saying law, the mapike means as if loy. Over there in the other places, you can't say that. So I'm wondering, what is he going to say over there? Over here, it's a drash, and he says, over there, you can't say loy means no, that it should fit in the simple meaning of the pasuk. Because as we'll see over there, they don't fit to say law like loy. Now the droshes of Zei Vazayin and Do in Medrash Vishas. The expounding that we find in Medrash and Shas, Zayin and Legamri Nita Derech HaPshat. That is totally not according to the Pshat. So the other new droshes, we'll see that on Pshat. But to say the law, like here, we can't say over there. So to Mehani. So what is he going to say over there? Now we fits the Rashi's lotion. I'm wondering, what is he going to expound? Not the kosherly. Rashi is difficult. But this is not ken kasha because Rashi is not intending to say here. This is a question or still it's a contradiction. Zum Drash for Ramesha Darshan Do to Ramesha Darshan expounding here. It fits over here. But at Mia, it's something which is surprising. What kind of an expounding will he say in the two other psukim, in the other words, Tevis as Rashi calls them over there? Nesken Zain, it's possible that by Yenet Tzvei Werter is the Drash Be'evanachar. Maybe it's taken not to do the law, the soft that is Avloi. Maybe there's something else over there. Because he's taken it as God let Shuta Shemikra. Possible not to put Shuta Shemikra. Now we get over there it's possible. Rashi is not saying that over there. It says because Rashi's style of Shuta Shemikra in the Chumash is on a stronger level than his style on the Nevi'im Ksuvim. That in the Nevi'im and the Ksuvim, seinen do kama v'kama psukim und Wörter, was man muss leitaichen nicht al pi pshashtus, that we should interpret them not literally. We have to do that over there, and that's why it's possible. It says it is different than the 5 chumashim of the Torah over here. We need to translate the verse specifically literally. So Rashi wundert sich. So why Rashi weisen mit Mehani? Meidrish chulu. Was wird Ramosha darshenen of the andere 2 Wörter law? What is he going to expound over there? Sees those Wellen sein droshes was eine Korrel Shuta Shemikra, whether there will be such expounding which is close to the meaning of the pasuk. Ubemela, and then if there will be a fitting interpretation, Matos lechaver zum drashev unser pasuk would be another place, a friend, another place that we can interpret like our pasuk, which the law, not the mapik hey, is something which fits literally. Other the droshem medrash v'shas, maybe the droshem medrash v'shas u'kiyetziba v'zayne nit al derech hapshat, and not al derech hapshat u'b'meid lematzos lechaver. And Rashi says then I don't have another place in the Torah where the law is interpreted like the literally over here. We cannot interpret law meaning Rafa, as the Rebbe will explain, that it means like loy, and those doesn't fit. But I'm wondering whether we can find the Rapshat that should fit the Pshuta Shemikra, or we'll have to say that it's not Pshuta Shemikra. If we can find the Pshuta Shemikra, then I have a support. Matzos lechaber. If I don't have Pshuta Shemikra, then I don't have the Matzos lechaber. So in Ois Gimel, the Rebbe explains first, what does Rashi mean to say that law is mashma medrashik loy, that it's like no? It doesn't mean that the Rebbe explains loy literally no, because how could you say that law means loy, or otherwise the Torah would have said law or loy. Law, when we're saying that it means loy, when it's rafa, means it's not a strong loy, but it's not the opposite. That wouldn't fit in Pshuta Shel Mikra. The level of loy, not the strong loy, does not actually fit in the context, does not fit in the context of the other places. Let's look inside. Gimel. In order to explain this matter, first we have to explain was Rashi zokt law eine mapik hey, that law does not have the mapik hey, the dagush. So then we expounded as no, not law, but loy. So at first glance, what Rashi means to say, as if the verse would have said, loy neuvach, not neuvach. The name for Stadt is nit neuvach. The name of the city is loy neuvach, is not neuvach. Warum? So the pasuk is basically saying that it's not called Noivach to say that the name did not last over there. That is what it seems at first glance that Rashi is saying. However, over there, Pirush is but to say this interpretation goes against the interpretation of the simple meaning of the verse. And therefore, that would also be Hepech von Klal von Rashi Pirush al Torah. This would go opposite of the Rashi's rule in his commentary on the Torah, that I only come to say the simple meaning. So how could we say that law means loy? What does the pasuk really mean? That to tell you that the Neuvach recalled the name of the city on his name Neuvach. That's what the pasuk is saying. Not that he's not called Neuvach. But Rashi is medayik. What Rashi is emphasizing, Shamashma medroshe. The expounding of this means, how do we explain the medrash of the law? As if no. As mashmoi is loy mamish. It's not that it means no, actually, but it's as if loy, which means to say that the fact that it doesn't have the mapike means to hint to us that this item about which the pasuk is talking about is rofa. It's soft. It's weak. It's a weak existence. Neuvach actually gave the name of Neuvach. Was the far state. That's why the pasuk says nit loy. Doesn't say it didn't. It was named it not. This is aber given in a schwachen Eufel. This was in a weak way. The nomen hat nit gehabt kein kiyum. It didn't have a lasting. So it means. So the pasuk means literally that he did call it the name, and it's written with a soft to tell you that it's a name that didn't last. Damit then wird verändert the Pashtus. So this answer is very simply, why we can't say the same kind of expansion by the Pshat in Posik Vayomer Lo Boyas. Vayomer Lo Boyas, we can't say that over there is a weak one. Over there, Vayomer Lo Boyas is just the opposite. It's a very strong thing that Boyas said to her. We can't say this rough, it doesn't fit over there. In Megillas Rus dort, in the Megillas Rus over there, state as Rus had gesagt zu Boyaz. Over there it says Rus said to Boyaz, Loi eye ka'achas shivchasecha. I am not worthy to be even like one of your maidservants. When he was reaching out to her, Boyaz, so Rus was saying, I'm not worthy to be even one of your maidservants. I'm not even important as one of your maidservants. And as a response to the words of Rus, is the pasuk mamshich. The pasuk continues. Vayomer lo Boyaz. Boyaz says to her, when it came the time to eat, Gishi haloim v'ochal togoimer, come here and eat. So darshan the medrash Vayomer lo Boyaz. So what is the medrash expound? That Boyaz, what is Vayomer lo Boyaz? Lo on mapik hey, without the mapik hey. As Boyaz answered, what he answered here, Chaz v'sholim. God forbid that what you say, that you are like one of my mates, you're much better beyond ein at min hoimois, imahois, hamois, not from the shvochis, you're not from the maidservants. Elo min hoimois, but rather you're from the mother, Sorer Rivka Chulu. Hey, so what does it mean? As if them was yet gizokt lo kacha shivchosecha. I should not even be like one of your maidservants. Had geantwortet, lo, loy. He said to her, no. Loy kein adover shakar asher dibarta. It's not like you said. So that's a very strong, that's not a soft, that's a strong. There's even more. His movement that Rashi is doch klar mit euch gehalten in der Chabshat. So what does it mean over here? He says, so over here on the no correction. It says they're not like you said. So the law means loy. That's not fitting him der Chamshad. Do can man nicht sagen, as is medroshe kimoy loy. It's not soft like loy. Weil die Wörter ein at min haimois, but the words are not soft. They are not on a soft way. Nor shlila v'kamri. That's a total rejection. Saying you're not that. So we can't say the law that we're translating over here, loy, does not fit the Pshuta Shel Mikra. Because it can't, Pshuta Shel Mikra law does not mean loy. Law only means it's kimoy loy, it's a soft way. But in this case, he's telling you the opposite from what you said. Al derech zeh is impossible livnes lo bais. Built for her for the gas saruach, a house. Emes takas gas saruach is given in Bavel Boy from Rafa. Let it be that the gas saruach was there on a soft way because most of it went away to Elam on Akiyum without lasting. Because Yishtarvu Wolosow it got dragged into Elam. But a simple meaning, red need der posik livnas lo bayis ben gas ruach is not talking about a soft gas ruach, nor oislislich ben chanufa, because there's only one singular lashon, as Rashi said. The gebracht früher Sif Aleph from Pirush Rashi l'Shas, as brought earlier in Sif Aleph from Rashi's interpretation of the Gemara, as from them was the posik zokt lo lashon yochid nit lohem lashon rabbi v'früher, since the posik changed it to lo lashon yochid, not lohem lashon rabbi as before, is muchach. It's evident as the posik read nor wegen ein zach. It's talking about one the chanufa l'chuda. Only chanufa. Chanufa is nit ishtarbu b'losam. Because Chanufa did not drag out to Elam elsewhere, it stayed over there. So the law is talking about the Chanufa. And Chanufa is not source, it's geblieben in Bavel standing. That stayed there for always. Kemmer doch nicht teitschen as the law on a mapik hey, that the law without the mapik hey, which is a Loshen Yochid, is miramis if noch azach, that it's telling you about something else, which is the gas saruach, was is dan given by Farofa, there was softly. Can't say so because we're talking about one thing, and the Chanufa stayed there, and the Gasa Ruach isn't mentioned in the pasuk because the pasuk says law. So therefore, we can't interpret this interpretation of the law over there in Pshuta Shel Mikra. So the Rebbe says, remaining to understand here, we have a drasha with regards to livnais lo bayis, a different drasha, not from the Gemara, that the Rebbe explained before, that according to Rashi, the livnais lo bayis, since it's a loshen yochid, then it can't mean Chanufa stayed fully, and the Gasa Ruach that left, we're not talking about it, loshen yochid. But according to the expounding in the Medrash Rus, is der posik livneish lo bayis merames fun sheker fun shinor bavel. So the posik livneish lo bayis represents the falsehood of shinor, and their law on a mapik hey shows is melamed she'ein la sheker teshua, that for falsehood there is no salvation, there is no hope for falsehood. Rashi can't honor him in them drash, so Rashi could have taken on this drasha. Similar to his commentary Vayikra Neivach. Their sheker is do b'mitzias. So there is here mitzias. Is ober nor ba'ofen rafa, but it's still in a soft way. Hayois as ein the sheker shua hotish kinkiyum. That there's no hope for sheker. There's no last for the sheker for falsehood, and therefore that would fit with the drasha over here Neivach, that it's not a lasting building, but it was eventually rafa. It was eventually gone. Das wird euch given behessen mit Pirush Rashi V'Shas. This would also fit with Rashi's interpretation of the Gemara as Livnes Lobayis gate of Chanufa. That to build the house refers to the idea of flattery. But Chanufa is euch sheker, because Chanufa is part of sheker. It's law, meaning goes soft. The sheker remains soft. With Rashi touched up. Chanufa shamarin atzmo chasidim. Rashi touches the word Chanufa, that they show to be Hasidim, which they're not. It means that they're false. They're giving a false impression. So what's the explanation? We should say that law without the mapik hey, wilder posik maramizain of a metzius rafa. The Torah is trying to hint of a soft Mitzi's existence. Chanufa v'sheker she'ein lo teshua. So that the flattery and falsehood don't have lasting. So why are we only talking about Chanufa? What about Gasus Haruach? Stellt sich die Kasche. The question is, was is that Goshe nor b'negeya Chanufa allein? Why is the emphasis only with regards to Chanufa? Why don't we also say this with regards to it? Should be a soft with regards to both of them, because they're both not lasting. This is actually more logical. That only Gas Ruach descended to Babel. But it is in a soft way because it came down originally to Babel and it went down later on to Elam, a canal, but it still started there. So why is the Torah, why does the Pasuk in Zechariah only talking about the second part, the part of the Chanufa, in a singular way? From them was the Pasuk Zokt Lo Loshin Yochid. The fact that the Torah says law in a singular way. Amiredo Nor Wegen Ein Zach Chanufa. That we're just talking about one item about Chanufa. Is muchach, as the posuk is nit oisen dem inyan from them was Chanufa in the Teshua. That is not intended, the idea of soft, that it doesn't have salvation because it's not unique to Chanufa. Und beis der posuk meint die Rede von Chanufa in Babel beofen kavua. That the posuk means that the descent from Chanufa is not soft. That's only a Gas Ruach. So it's said over there. Nit vi ishtarvu v'lahosam from Gas Ruach, not ishtarvu v'lahosam from Gas Ruach. Vov, apikol knowledge, ich verstandig for was Rashi is magdim the posuk from Rus. The Rebbe asked earlier why the posuk of Rus from Ksuvim. Rashi brings it far than posuk from Zechariah. So now we understand it. In the Pasuk, Vayomer lo boyas from the Rus is the drash gufa hepech hapshat. Over there, the drasha of soft goes against the pshat. Leuten drash meant Vayomer lo, that law means he says no, it's not. Kinal, and over there it means dafke yes. He's trying to tell her that she is important, more like the Emois, not like the Faris Rashi Shel and Drash Frir. That's why Rashi rejects that expansion first. Well, there is weiter from Derech Hapshat with the Drash, because that is even further of the style of the literal, as the Drash and possibly Livnei law Bais. Because Vasizia Masim to Derech Hapshat. The word law in essence fits in the Derech Hapshat. It doesn't fit because it's a singular. We're only talking about Chanufa. It is hindering something soft. It went, or there ain't to show. There's no lasting, or it went down there. But you can't learn it because because the posik is changed it from the Rab to Yochid. So we're talking about only the level of Chanufa over here, and therefore we're making a distinction, and we're saying that the Gasus Ruach is Takerofa, but that's not what the Pasuk is saying. Pasuk is talking about law only about Chanufa. That has to be permanent. So because it's only a question from the contents, so that's why the Rashi brings that as second, because that difficulty is not as difficult as from the first pasuk of Rus. The Tmiya is greater from the pasuk of Rus than the Tmiya of the pasuk of Zechariah. Zayin. From Yena shel Torah in the Pirush Rashi, the wine of Torah in the Pirush Rashi, the alle drei mekoymes wo steht law. In all three places where it says law on a mapik without the emphasis of the dogush and the hey, reden b'shayches sametzias from it kedusha. We're talking all about existence which is not holy. In unser parsha retzich wegen an eingenommener Stadt von der Moedi. In our portion, we are talking about a conquered city from the Moedi. So not kedusha, knos. Vayomer lo boyaz wegen Rusa Moavia. It's talking about Rus. It was a Moabite. On livneis lobayis is talking about when gas zeruch v'chanucha shevke from Babel. Is talking about the arrogance, and that's hinted because the beginning is talking about the gas zeruch also, but eventually law is talking about the chanufa, the flattery, the sheker from Babel. The far state law on amapik hey. That's why it says law without a emphasis on the hey to meramazai, to hint to us that the metzias from the umazeh is a metzias rofa, that the metzias of the other side is a soft one. Nor kedusha is a metzias amitis v'nitzchis. Only kedusha is a true and lasting entity. But the umazeh is nitke metzias amitis. It's not, the other side is not a true existence. Ubemeli is in nitke bar kayoma, and therefore it's not sustainable. Dem zokt Rashi utmehani ma yidrish in the psuki bayemer leboaz livnes lobayis. What is he going to expound in the psukim of, first of all, bayemer leboaz, and also in livnes lobayis of Zechariah? Bishleim in unser posik, we understand in our posik vu der meduber is wegen is kafye volumazeh, in which we're talking about subduing lumazeh, or nit wegen seines hapach werden ligdusha. We're not talking about turning around to Kedusha. A Yilkut Goimer, that he conquered it. Pas the remes from law on a mapik hey, but there is fitting the hint of law, soft mapik hey, was his meramis, with the metzias from the umazeh vert nitnes hapik, that hints that the metzias of the umazeh is not turned around, it's still a soft. Over and down there, it's zwei psukim, retzach doch wegen a metzias from the umazeh, but there we're talking about the other side that is turned around to Kedusha. Rus the Moabite converted. When is Sal geworden to the Hechte Madrigas from Kedusha, and she became elevated to the highest levels of Kedusha. Biz as he is kachas minoimos, that she's like one of the mothers. Aderach ze livnes lobayis, the sheker from Babel. Main bipnimi is what is the in the sheker from Babel, the shakel of a tari from Talmud Babli. That's the give and take of Talmud Babli. Was nishtaushlo b'choshech afilu b'sheker, quoting the lashon of the Torah. It has been evolved in darkness, even in sheker and falsehood. And Davke do them by machshakim meshavani, and Davke through this place being placed in the darkness. There's Talmud Shel Babel. That accomplishes to build a house, the hechste madrege in Torah, comes a house of Torah, a trust with the house. Since we're talking about the other side as it's being turned around to Kedusha, both in Ruvam, Rusa Moavia, and in Talmud Babli, positive them need the law as loy mapikei doesn't have fit loy mapikei the monoshech. The klipa atzmo is in ganze bottle. Sees loy mamish. That's totally bottle. So it's not umitzad dark sa kedusha. Dav doshte mit adogish davke. For the level of kedusha has to be with emphasis. Toika v'chigodl. V'adrab. Davke in his habcha chashech b'nahira. This should be the fullest emphasis, because when you turn things darkness to light, zetzich that emissav toika kedusha, we can see the true force of kedusha. This is Mesichas Shabbos Parshas Matos Tavshin Chol Hey.